And so we're first going to talk about bacteria and all these things that are in Fat Tom. Those are the ways we prevent bacteria from growing. When we talk about parasites, the best way to prevent a parasitic infection is by purchasing shellfish from an approved supplier. And then when we get to viruses, the best way to prevent those is all the stuff in the personal hygiene, like hand washing and food handling and the whole vomit and diarrhea thing. So again, not one size fits all. And I don't think I realized that the way it was taught to me originally. So we are first going to talk about bacteria. And when it comes to bacteria, we can use all of these things to think about bacteria. There's going to be a slide for each one of these, so there's no rush to write them down. But essentially, Fat Tom stands for food, acidity, time, temperature, oxygen, and moisture. We're going to talk about how all of these affect the growth of bacteria, and then we're going to talk about how really the only things that we typically have control over are the time and the temperature. And all the other ones we just need to be aware of, whether it's because we know we need to pay attention to their time and temperature, or we just need to be aware of for the exam. It could be a combination of both in this instance. So, looking at food, and I'll explain the logic here. We had to enter the visual images in my mind in this imaginary scenario. When it comes to food, so what this is saying is that most bacteria need nutrients to survive. And the other thing about food is that TCS foods support the growth of bacteria better than other types of foods. So essentially, the way I look at this is a few things. One is if I was a virus and I touched this and I got fecal coliforms on here, somebody else could come and touch this and they could get sick just fine. There's no nutrients here, right? That's for a virus. But if I'm bacteria, I need nutrients to survive, and that's typically going to be in the form of starch and water. So we're going to talk about that. So one scenario that sort of fits in here is that one of the places I worked at in Yellowstone was a cafeteria. So there was a large hotline, maybe like you guys are going to have. But we served the customers. And one of the things that we had that seemed to be problematic was we had hot held rice. So a non-animal product, but also, it would be considered a moist carbohydrate. And I'll explain why that's significant. So we'd have hot held rice, and we did temp things every 2 hours because we were inspected by many agencies, so we sort of had to. So I would temp the rice, and it always seemed to be under 135, which is the hot holding temperature for everything.